And it's Ken Kraetzer for Cam Vets Media. We cover cadets, midshipmen, the military, veterans proudly since 2008, and our second Army football huddle of the year. And Army is opening up against Louisiana Monroe down in northern Louisiana, north central Louisiana on Saturday night, a 7 o'clock game. And we are glad to have Richard Miller with us. Richard, how are you?
I'm great, Ken. I am ready for the start of the Army football season.
Okay. And we have from the Beat Navy studio in Huntsville, Alabama, we have Colonel Sam Houston from the class of 87. Colonel, how are you?
Hey, Ken, how are you, man? How are you, Richard? I'm doing great. It's good to be on the huddle because it's a surefire sign that Army football is literally right around the corner. So looking forward to another great season.
Yeah, thank you both for joining us and our audience. And I was just on the Army media call with offensive coordinator Drew Thatcher, who's looking forward to his first game and the new Army offense, and the starting quarterback Bryson Daly, who shown a lot, the junior, and he has shown a lot in spring practice and then in the August scrimmages. And what's your thought, Sam? I don't know if you had a chance to see any of the Army offense, but Drew Thatcher's implemented kind of a change. You got bigger offensive linemen. All the linemen are over 300 pounds now, and they're going to throw the ball a little bit more than they have in the past. What's your thought on this change in the Army offense?
Well, I'm trying to, I'll put it this way. I'm really looking forward to seeing the game on Saturday because I will be in Monroe, Louisiana for the game.
Oh, you're going to be there. Okay.
Yeah, and I have limited myself to only things that I've read about what the new offense entails. A lot of people are in a debate right now. Is it run pass option or RPO? Is it some type of new hybrid where you are run centric yet allowing all the playmakers to be in space? Does it use positional blocking or directed blocking, or does it do zone blocking for the run plays? I'm really curious to see this offense in motion, and I know that the offensive scheme that Drew Thatcher was running at Nebraska Kearney was putting up ungodly numbers, ungodly scores, and this was something that really got the attention of Jeff Bonkin. When it was time to make an offensive coordinator change, that coupled with the continuous bombardment of NCAA rule changes that are making it increasingly difficult to run triple option offense, especially from the academy level, because of the multiple changes in blocking rules that make it really hard when you don't have a size or necessarily a speed advantage, but you don't have the opportunity to put somebody on the ground downfield because it'll be a penalty. So we'll see. I'm excited to see what's going on. I know that there's some consternation in the air about it too from people I've talked to, but we can get into that later.
Okay, well, it's one of the big changes we've seen is the size of the offensive line. They really worked on strength and conditioning and nutrition, and on the depth chart, I think every one of the offensive linemen in the 2 deep chart are 300 pounds or more, and that is a big difference for Army football. How much bigger the offensive linemen are, and that should help as they will be doing more drop back pass blocking. What is it like to watch an Army offensive line do drop back pass protection?
Well, see, that's another one of the big question marks here. Now, Ken, you might have seen their new offense in motion more than I have because you actually have been in attendance at some of the practices and the scrimmages. I'm I'm among the crowd that is hoping this change in offense does not mean that we are going to a pass-centric type approach to football, because many of us are living with the ghost of Todd Berry and the disastrous years that came about when he became the head coach and he changed triple option football into a pro style drop back passing type offense, which Army historically never has the athletes to run, unless you go back to like Red Blake days. So I don't believe that even with 300-pound offensive linemen, Army has the athletes or the ability to hang with FBS Power 5 teams or Group of 5 teams and running a drop back passing offense. So I'm really hoping that passing is just a wrinkle, but it is not involved like throwing the long bomb all the time, or depending on developing pass plays, because honestly, Army, even with 300-pound offensive linemen going up against some of the type of elite defensive line athletes that they would have to face, will have difficulty keeping the pocket intact for a drop back passer as pass patterns develop. So I'm envisioning what we're going to see is that when Army does pass in the coming game against ULM, that this is going to be a lot of read pass, where you are doing quick passes to the outside or short passes like curl routes and out and ins and things like that, that are quick hitters that have the advantage of getting a step on the defender before he can react to cover. And so, but again, I'm speaking to an offense that I have not seen a single snap from. So I have not even gone and on YouTube or anything and tried to study Nebraska Kearney offense. So perhaps I'm a little negligent in my studying for this huddle, but here, I'll put it this way. I pledge my trust in Jeff Monken that he did the right thing in changing to this new offense.
Well, the scrimmage on Saturday, it really was like they're working through the running game. There was, when you have Tyson Riley and Jacoby Buchanan in your backfield at the same time, what they seem to be doing is having one of the two, in the backfield, able to take a handoff, and then the other lines up kind of behind one of the tackles,
right,
and is ready to block. And they seem to both be they're alternating for each other. As one of the set of plays, I've seen Tyson Riley take some quick screen pass or
sure,
quick hitters, as you would say, to the outside, and he said, you got to be able to run, pass, and catch or block as an Army football player. What's been interesting is they obviously are doing the quick hits out to receivers like Casey Reynolds, we've seen get a few, and then you've got Isaiah Alston, who I think they've held back in practice. They know what he can do. He had a nice catch in the end zone, leaping over a defender on Saturday.
sure.
And then you got Ajon Marshall, who is just a fast playmaker. But you don't have slot backs anymore. And the depth chart lists 3 wide receivers. So I call it the hybrid spread option offense, because they're spreading it out and they still have the options to go to.
Right.
So it's a mixture. They obviously are trying to get, that occasional pass over the middle to get a big gainer.
Sure.
And they got one actually out to the tight end, David Crossett, I think is in the middle of, towards the end of the scrimmage on Saturday.
Yeah.
So they're looking for that play. I think they'll look for Isaiah Alston over the middle, try to, to spread the defense, as Coach Monken is saying. But I think, as he gave an interview to Sports Illustrated and talked about having to make the decision based on the 2022 rule changes the NCAA made. They didn't have really time to change the offense much last year, which is maybe why the offense last year looked kind of awkward at times, because they couldn't do some of the things that had made them successful.
Yeah. And as someone who grew up playing triple option football and pretty much played triple option the entire time that I played football, and to include, Army 150 sprint football. I still am one of the old school people who is stewing over the NCAA rules committee and the changes that they've made, when they always want to cite that it's in the interest of player safety, yet they can never cite a single example of triple option football and downfield blocking below the waist that has caused any type of spike in injuries. So ultimately, it bodes to the fact that there are people in the rules committee, and of course, this is just my opinion. So if they want to dispute me on it, they can go ahead. But at least the people like me and others, I think Steve Shalhoub, if he was on the call, he would agree with me. And that is that there are people in the NCAA rules committee that are being steered by a higher power in an effort to drive triple option football completely out of FBS, because they'll say it's just people don't want to watch it. It's too boring. But you know what? The real reason is because other teams don't want to play triple option football teams that run the triple option football, because no one else on their schedule does. And it's really hard to prepare for when there were only a handful of teams that were still running it in FBS. So Army was one of them. Army has acquiesced to the rules committee, and now we will see what becomes of Army's offense. I will say that in the conversations that I have had with a lot of alumni, the real fear that everyone's having is that we're what I hear a lot is that we're going back to the Todd Berry stuff. And I keep reassuring them that's not what we're doing. You got to trust in Monken. But from a personal level, I will say this: as turnover averse as Jeff Monken is, I'm really, and again, I can't speak to the offense until I actually see it. But from what I hear about it, I am really surprised that he has taken this level of risk of turnovers in an offense that requires everything from just the snap of the ball, which is not a direct exchange to the quarterback. It's a shotgun snap on every play.
Yeah.
That results in a lot of misdirection in passing and pitches. And, we've grown quite accustomed in the past 3 years, especially, to a lot of inside the tackle, B-back dives, quarterback follows, midline zone reads and things like that, and very little pitching to the outside. And now we're going to an offense where the ball's being liberally cast about all over the place. So discipline is the word. And back to the basics we are, to make sure that you're sure-handed in everything that you're doing and you understand these plays, because the more complex a play is, the more possibility there is for the ball to hit the deck. So we'll see what happens.
I think you're going to see less pitch outs, although they were practicing pitch out plays in the scrimmage on Saturday. But you are going to see more of the forward passes to the outside and to the backs, again, mitigating the risk of from pitch out plays of a fumble and a live ball. But just thought they would go over some of the announced starters for Army on the offensive line. Left tackle Jordan Booby Law, who I saw receive his class ring on last Friday night. He was very excited about that.
Nice.
And Jackson Filipowicz will start at left guard, 6'3", 295, maybe the only starter in the offensive line under 300 pounds now. And the big surprise, and not entirely a surprise, is a freshman will start at center for Army, Brady Small.
Saw that.
From New Jersey. We had a chance to talk with him. Maybe we'll play our talk with him in just a moment. Bill Cancelanis is out injured, is the word. He didn't play in the scrimmage on Saturday and was kind of noticeable for his absence. He had been kind of penciled in at starter. I was kind of thinking Sam Barsak was the number 2, but they have Bo Lombardi as the backup at center. And it's something to watch if they decide to rest Brady Small at a certain point, who goes in. Connor Finucane didn't play in the scrimmage on Saturday, but will be in at right guard. 6'4", 315, team captain. And Shane Buckingham, 6'4", 305, will start at right tackle. And some of the backups, David Hayward, Sam Barsick, Bo Lombardi, Lucas Scott, and David Hoy, among the options for Coach Monken on the offensive line. But much bigger. But Drew Thatcher thinks they're also quicker from their conditioning. So how does that sound to you, Sam?
Yeah. So, I'm excited to see how the offensive line play is going to be this year. It definitely sounds like it is across the board the biggest offensive line Army has ever fielded, probably in Army's history. It brings a lot of experience. I think 4 of the 5 starters are all firsties, so they've all got considerable playing time. And I'm glad to see that Shane Buckingham is in the starting rotation. I had an excellent talk with his father last year prior to the Coastal Carolina game at the hotel, at the team hotel. He and Jamel Jones, his father, now graduated. And so that is, that bodes well. Actually, I think Buckingham might be a cow this year. I'm not sure if he's a firstie, but the plebe, I'm kind of excited about this because the center in the offensive line is literally the most important position on the line because that is the anchor. And, we had Connor Bishop for 2 straight years starting, and he was such an incredible center for the Army team. So what that meant was when he graduated and departed, it meant that there was completely open player competition for that position. And if we've learned something from Jeff Monken, and that is this, because you played or started the season before, it doesn't mean you're going to play or start the following season. It's pretty much open competition across the board for each position, and the best player is the one who's going to start. And this is really good for also character development among the players because it's recognizing that the team comes before self. And but I know that every single one of the players who are on the depth chart are bought into this system. And I guarantee you that every single one of the players on the offensive line depth chart are going to get playing time, probably some of them on Saturday as they get rotated through. Yeah. So it isn't a question of whether or not someone starts the entire season. Injuries happen. There are, moments where other players start to be a better fit for certain game situations. So, but I trust I trust completely in the lineup of the offensive line, and I am really curious to see how they perform, with this newfound size and strength development, playing an entirely new type of blocking schemes for the offense.
Okay, let's take a second and meet one of the new offensive linemen for Army, and that is Brady Small. And it's Ken Kraetzer for Cam Vance Media. We have a chance to talk to Army center Brady Small, who is a freshman and getting a lot of playing time in the scrimmage today. How is it for you to be out there with the offensive line?
It's great experience. Great to be able to have upperclassmen. Bob, offensive line, they've really done a great job with me, helping me, getting me ready, making me better each day.
Where are you from, and why did you decide on West Point?
So I'm from Mount Ethan, New Jersey, about 10 minutes outside of Philly, all the way down at the bottom of South Jersey. And I chose West Point because I really wanted to challenge myself in college, and I really the brotherhood aspect here. In high school, we were all about brotherhood, and nothing's changed here. And the brotherhood here is freaking great.
Very good. And what was it like for you getting through the summer training and getting started here with the football team?
Yeah, so summer training was good. I went to a prep school last year, so I kind of had a jump start doing it before. So, it wasn't too bad. It was a good experience, getting me in shape for football. So it wasn't too bad.
And what have you learned from this very experienced group of offensive linemen on the Army football team?
Just being a tough dude, every single day coming out to practice, giving the best effort, playing fast, playing physical. I mean, our motto is play fast and physical, and, we want to move people off the ball. So, I mean, just having that mindset and being as physical as possible, we're going to win a lot of games.
And how is it to have a role and go down, you'll be on the travel squad, I guess, to go down to Louisiana, Monroe. What is that like for you?
Yeah, it's a great experience. Definitely, just go whatever role I get, just play my role and whatever I can do to help the team win.
How's it just school and football right now and military?
Yes, sir. School's going well. Just getting adjusted to school and football and kind of managing my time as best as possible. So it's going to be tough. Being here is not easy. So, but I love the challenge. That's why I came here.
Okay, and that was Army starting center for the team, and that is Brady Small. And it's great to have a chance to talk to him after the practice scrimmage on Saturday. Sam, what did you think of remarks of the freshman center?
Probably what stood out to me the most is when he said, whatever's best for the team. Really, that's the mentality that you have to have. Whatever's best for the team, and you have to buy into that. And it sounds like he already has. And you made a good point by asking him how he was, how he was developing with the experience of being able to work with such a seasoned group of offensive linemen already for the Army team. And, and then he threw in brotherhood. So, that's a very important aspect of the coaching philosophy of Monken teams, is that, you're part of the brotherhood, and whatever, team comes first. And you learn from your coaches, and you gain mentorship from the other players who have experience. And they help you develop into the philosophy that creates the team culture, which has been turned gratefully into a winning culture again at West Point. So I'm glad to see a young man like that being a part of the Army team.
Dan, how does it work when you're a freshman? I mean, freshmen in the barracks aren't called by their first name, by their company members. They have a lot of specific ways of or requirements of how they do things. But how is it when a freshman goes out on the field as one of the members of the Army football team?
Right. So it's true across the board for any of the core squad, which is what at West Point, core squad is what the varsity athletics are called. So if you're on a core squad team, the rules of engagement are the fourth class system or the plebe system. It doesn't exist when you're on the playing field, the training facilities, at the tables in the mess hall that are designated for the team, simply because you can't build that type of trust and cohesion across the board for the team at the same time making the fourth class system a part of the development process. They get enough of that back in the company area. When a core squad athlete is in season, obviously they actually are kind of exonerated from a lot of the plebe hazing and stuff that they see on a regular basis, when you're not a part of a team or in season. However, as part of all the plebes that are on the football team, as part of their daily routine, they're exempted. Likely, I think they were exempted back when I was a cadet from things like minute calling duties, but they still have to go to first formation. They still have to report to the plebe chasers. They have to do things like that. And then their day of the fourth class system pretty much ends at the time they report to practice till the time they get back to barracks in the evening after, supper. And by then it's academic call to quarters. So the fourth class system is hazing is not allowed during the academic call to quarters because that's designated study time. So it's good that there's always been the longstanding practice of going by a first name on the team and just being a teammate instead of going by what year you are, and recognizing that the leadership that you exude on the practice field and in the games is irrespective of what year group you are as far as your class. So I am sure that this young man demonstrated not only skill at the position of center, but that he also demonstrated a level of maturity when he stepped onto the field that helped him be recognized as someone who was ready to go in and fill that important role on the team.
Absolutely. Yeah, we talked to offensive coordinator Drew Thatcher this evening, and he talked about what a tough player Brady Small is and the confidence that he's played in. But what they talked about was his very high upside potential. And they said there were things in his game they had to work through and improve on. But they said, let's do that now and see how high his potential could be. And so they think he could be a really outstanding player for Army. And so we're going to enjoy watching him. Number 51. Let's see what number. I have to check his number. 51 for Army on Saturday night. Now we've got another player as a junior going to start at quarterback, Bryson Daly for Army. He got in several games last year, mostly fourth quarter activity. Had nice length of the field run against Massachusetts. People say he runs well. He can throw pretty good too. And as you said, Sam, he's kind of been working on the when to drop back and then tuck it and run is maybe as a key. What's your impression of Bryson Daly starting for Army?
I'm excited to see Bryson Daly run the offense. Bryson Daly is one of those players who comes along every now and then where he just looks like the face of Army football. You know, you could put up pictures of say Doc Blanchard, Glenn Davis, Pete Dawkins, and there's Bryson Daly. And you're like, man, he's just like a chip off the block, man. He's a big bruising kind of guy. I think he's about 6'2", maybe about 215, which is really a large person running the offense at quarterback compared to some of the diminutive quarterbacks that Army's had in the past few years. But it's not only that. When he had the opportunity to play, because he was number 3 and 4 on the depth chart last year, so many times when he came in, he was running cleanup. I mean, he really ran the offense well. He had a couple of really long runs. He had another long run for a touchdown. He got called back by a holding penalty. It just seemed like that guy, he was a caged animal just waiting to get out of the cage and just run an absolute terror on opposing defenses. So, and when I've heard him speak in interviews, he's got a great attitude. He speaks very well, speaks highly of his teammates and his coaching staff. Just seems like the kind of guy that you just want to be in charge of the Army offense. Now, here's where the question mark comes in. There's always got to be a little caveat. Question mark comes in is that, he's a cow cut this year. He spent the first 2 years running the flex bone triple option and waiting in the wings to be able to go in and run a flex bone triple option. We'll see how well did he learn this new offense and how ready is he to run. He was obviously ready to run the flex bone triple option that was the offense last year. He was ready to do it. How ready is he to run this offense? This remains to be seen. Now, I've heard some encouraging comments about he ran a similar offense in high school and stuff like that. I'm only talking about 3 years difference from when he was in high school. So the memory recall is always there. But then again, I run the mesh of gray area of trying to understand what Army's new offense looks like because I have no idea. And I can guarantee you that Bryson Daly knows that offense a lot better than I do right now. And he most certainly would run it a lot better than I would too. So I can't wait to see him. I can't wait to see him take snaps, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I wish I was going to be with you at the game to see that. We'll watch it on television. But he got the full spring practice to start to learn it. And now he's had a month in August. Ran a lot of plays, really ran the entire first half of the scrimmage on Saturday, and executing a lot of running plays. And I think one concern is the lack of experience behind Bryson Daly. You've got Dwayne Coleman, the sophomore, and then you've got Larry Robinson, the freshman from Detroit, who I thought played with quite considerable poise in the practices and the scrimmages. And I think we thought that Dwayne Coleman played well in the spring game. But that's not a lot of experience behind Bryson Daly.
Yeah, it's next man up mentality, and it was unfortunate what happened to the second string quarterback.
Meredith, yeah.
Yes, it's very unfortunate what happened to him, because he was definitely poised to see a lot of playing time this year, and then he had the injury. And these things happen. I mean, this is part of football. This is part of any sport that you play, and that is that injuries happen. And you never know when they're going to happen. You never know how they're going to happen. But when you are on the roster and you play a position and the person in front of you goes down by something that you couldn't predict, like an injury, you're the next man up and you're ready. So I know that it must be a moment where the butterflies are flapping around inside their guts, but the backup quarterback, on the depth chart, I am certain that they may have a couple of jitters if they have to go in, but I guarantee you it'll take about one snap for those jitters to go away, and they will play. It'll come back to them just like in practice. So they're where they are on the depth chart for a reason, and we'll just have to have confidence that they will play and live up to the expectation of where they are on the depth chart.
Okay, and of course, as I mentioned earlier, we've got the two big reliable fullbacks, Tyson Riley and Jacoby Buchanan, both slimmed down to a modest 260 pounds apiece, and maybe a little quicker. Tyson Riley, they seem to have some creative plays set up for, some like short pass plays, and Jacoby is just going to be there on 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1. And he's going to get the ball. Everybody in the stadium is going to know he's going to get the ball. And Tyson Riley is going to block for him.
Yeah, it's interesting when you look at the depth chart that the fullback or the B back in the offense previously run is not even referred to. It's not even referred to as fullback anymore. It's just running back. So there is no designated fullback in this new offense. And, that's another one of those things where you can stand on the fence and say, I can argue for a fullback, or I can argue against a fullback, but at least to know that you do have those two backs with a lot of experience, a wealth of experience, who are of the size that they are, and they are ready to tote the rock in short yardage situations and other situational downs, where their experience and their heft is going to come in handy, coupled with these big offensive linemen, plowing some holes ahead of them so they can get in space and knock over these smaller defensive backs like bowling pins. It's interesting you mentioned Tyson Riley, because just today when I was at the gym, I had pulled up a highlight video on YouTube I was watching while I was doing cardio, and it was Army Villanova last season. And Tyson Riley had a great game. Matter of fact, he early in the 3rd quarter, he busted out on about a 70-yard touchdown run. So the guy's got some wheels, and he's got some explosiveness, and we all know what fire of the Buchanans means at West Point. So we'll be looking forward to seeing those two hosses really showing what they can do, and showing their ability to excel in different types of offenses. I will say this, though, and I've been saying this since the offensive coordinator change happened. When I've been in these little debates or concern moments with the alumni who were talking about, why is Army changing their offense? I always come back, and actually, that actually reminds me, I have not been on the forum in a long time. I need to get back on that because they're probably going to think I quit or something. But I know I did mention in the forum, and I mention it now. I've mentioned it to other alumni. Yes, Army has gone to an entirely new offense, but I don't think that Monken totally abandoned the flex bone. I think we're still going to see some of that in situational downs. And situational downs does not necessarily mean yardage situations. Situational downs can also mean at moments where, according to the scouting of the other team and recognizing their strengths and weaknesses, there's moments you can break out the flex bone on them and catch them off guard. So I don't think we've seen the last of triple option at Army.
Well, I think it makes a big difference. Would you say while you have these two exceptional fullbacks, Tyson Riley and Jacoby Buchanan, you're going to use them because especially when you get to some of these Power 5 games, they're the kind of players that can make a defense think a little bit differently about. But next year, when they're gone, when they're graduated in the Army, commissioned, it could be a little bit different because you're not going to have those. They may not recruit any more big prototypical fullbacks like that. I mean, you got your backup in Hayden Reed, who's 6', 215. And of course, you got Miles Stewart. It's going to get a lot of playing time, especially I'd say on first and second down. 5'10", 95. So
is Johnson still on the team? Wasn't he the guy that scored the touchdown in overtime?
Markel Johnson, yeah. He's
He's
another.
still on the team.
Yeah, but he's still another kind of small 200. I'd say he's maybe 225. We were talking to him after a practice. He's going to get some reps in. But I think you're going to see a bigger difference next year when they've got to live without those two big fullbacks, which they've had for most of the last 10 years. They've had a string of big fullbacks.
Sure.
And we'll see what happens there. Let's see. Let's give Richard Miller a chance. Richard, good to see you down there in West Palm, Florida. And can you hear me okay, Richard?
Yes, I can, Ken. Yes,
So
I can.
what stories have you been following in college football? I know you're sending me notes all the time.
Yeah.
What's a top story you've been following?
Well, another Michigan story. Sharon Moore suspended tied to Michigan's violation of NCAA rules. That's their offensive coordinator who's going to be suspended for their week's opening game and the school's self-imposed penalties for violating NCAA rules that led to Jim Harbaugh's punishment.
Okay, I know you like following Michigan. Richard, you have the top 10 from one of the polls. You want to find that one of the top 10 for us?
Top 10 polls. The AP top 25.
Okay, just give us the top 10. Who's in the top 10 this year on the
Georgia,
AP poll?
Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, LSU, USC, Penn State, Florida State, Clemson, Washington.
Okay. Well, we're going to come back to you, Richard. I want your the 5 games that you're going to watch this weekend in addition to Army versus Louisiana Monroe. Sam, what do you think about the top 10? So much change going on in realignment of conferences in college football. What's your thoughts on the overview of college football right now and all the changes?
Yeah, well, it's follow the money. I mean, really, the haves and the have-nots, and always trying to lump the big draw teams that have been pretty much dominating the top 10 and keeping them where they are. I'm not criticizing that so much, but I know last year when we were around this time when we had our huddle, we were talking about the top 10. It really was a matter of, ask about the top 10 maybe in October, and we'll see where everyone shakes out. Most of the team, I don't have any disagreement with any of the teams on the top 10. We'll see how their season goes. That's the mystery of every college football season. We don't know how it's going to go. We don't even know And I'm not getting in the prediction for this Saturday's game, but we don't even know what ULM team is going to look like this year. You can't compare it to last year. You have no idea. I mean, look at UMass. I mean, UMass was not a good team last year at all, but UMass came out and traveled and beat a pretty good team this past Saturday, and looked pretty good offensively when they did it too. So, that should be a red flag for Army fans, knowing that I think we play UMass again this year, I think.
Yeah.
So,
We do.
don't think that you're going to play the same team you played last year, because you'll find out you get punched in the face and you don't get up. So,
Well,
but
transfer
top-
portal changes a lot.
Yeah.
Louisiana Monroe lost 7 starters to the transfer portal. They brought in a few. But the transfer portal allows teams to really change their lineup quickly.
Sure it does. I mean, look at Sam Hartman at Notre Dame. I mean, and he's in his 6th season. So how's a guy play 6 seasons of college football? So, and he looked like Sam Hartman against Navy, just shredding the mids, shredding the squids. But then again, and I'm not, I didn't mean to caveat into that game, but, Navy was still running a lot of triple option football. I'm going to say they looked pretty lethargic, and I get it. They were playing Sam Hartman and they were playing Notre Dame. Notre Dame is, I think, ranked 12th or 13th right now. Notre Dame was clearly a better team. I just expected Navy to demonstrate a little bit more under Brian Newberry than what they did, not just from a team perspective, but also from a coaching perspective. Because when I went back and watched some of the game again the other day, I was just kind of shocked at how unenthusiastic Brian Newberry was as the head coach, and how quickly it seemed that Navy just seemed to kind of give up. So they say don't give up the ship, but it just looked kind of like Navy kind of checked out of the game there after their first couple of drives, which were kind of promising, petered out. They just kind of checked out, and they just kind of coasted along, getting torched until late in the game when Notre Dame mercifully let them get in field goal range and kick a field goal. Otherwise, it was a shutout. So it doesn't mean that that's the Navy we're going to play on December 9th. Don't get me wrong. But it was kind of a inauspicious beginning of the Newberry era.
Yeah, no doubt. Disappointing for Navy, but seeing Sam Hartman, I mean, he could be in the NFL this year. Instead, he decided to go spend a year at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Hey, just on offense, I want to mention, a player I think could make a big difference for Army is Isaiah Alston. He's got 40 catches so far for Army. He's very athletic. He's big, 6'4", can leap over defenders as he did in the scrimmage on Saturday. And again, Ajon Marshall, again, a very fast player who can catch the ball and make yardage running. And Josh Lingenfelter, David Crossan, a tight end, both can make plays, but it's an interesting change for Army. And I do have to report Tyrell Robinson is not ready to play. And Coach Monken is hoping that he will be ready by midseason. And we're all disappointed, first, that he's not able, just as a cadet, to go and do what he loves doing, playing football. But we hope he's back. He said he hasn't taken reps with the team yet. And I didn't see him at the scrimmage on Saturday. Most of the players that are being held back due to injuries are on the sideline, pretty visible. But we're hoping he's back because he can make a difference. He could be a spark plug for Army's offense. But for the time being, he is still recovering from the injury he had last season. On the Army defense, I guess one of the new players broke into the lineup is the nose tackle, Kyle Lewis, who we talked to. We've watched Darius Richardson, who's played a lot for Army in the scrimmages, and the word is that Lewis has just impressed the coaches, and we'll get the start, but to expect to see both players in the middle of the Army defense. There's been a lot of talk about Army needing to do a better job stopping the run. What do you think they have to do to be better at run stopping, Sam?
Well, it starts with the nose tackle. You know, we had this talk a lot early in the first half of Army season last year, how critical the nose tackle was to bottling up 2 and 3 blockers. You know, nose tackles they don't get as much accolades as they should because they don't chalk up the tackles, the stats and things like that as much as some of the other players on the defense. But it's what they do in disrupting the interior of the opposing team's offensive line. And that means that it frees up the linebackers to be able to make the run read at the line of scrimmage as opposed to 2 and 3 yards downfield. So that's where it starts. So I'm real excited to see the new nose tackle in action and see how it goes, because obviously last year it was a position that was in really bad flux for Army, and it was really hurting us pretty bad in the first half of the season. But another player I'm really looking forward to playing, and I'm saying this because in the second half of last season, this young man upped his game dramatically and really started becoming a serious impact player on the line of scrimmage, and that was Chris Fry.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to seeing what another year under his belt means, and can he start the season at the level he was playing at last season? Because he was, if you go back and watch the Navy game from last year, he was a seriously disruptive force on the line of scrimmage. He was in on, if the play was made within 1 or 2 yards of the line of scrimmage, up and down the line of scrimmage, it is likely that number 99 was in there somewhere in the pile, either driving blockers into the ball carrier or making the tackle himself. He was in, he was in the middle of the play where the fumble happened at the goal line. And I'm really excited to see what another year of leadership and experience is going to mean for him from the outset. And if he can play at the same level starting this season as he finished the season last year, it's going to take a lot of heat off the new nose tackle. I can promise you that, because he himself is going to be getting double teamed a lot.
And then you got Austin Hill at the other defensive lineman or defensive end, and Austin Hill, a captain, is expected to be really one of the stars on the defense.
Sure. And there's a lot of experience actually coming back on the defense, and I'm excited to see Spencer Jones back in the starting lineup, because I've always been a fan of Spencer Jones since he played for Radigan in the Liberty Bowl a couple of years ago. 2 or 3 years, 3 years ago, during the COVID season when Radigan wasn't able to play, and Spencer Jones was a plebe and stepped in and played a whale of a game, man. Like, really played an excellent game. I know he's been beset a little bit by injuries the past couple of years, so really excited to see him back in the mix, and not only back in the mix, but back in the starting role in the middle. So way to go, man. I'm looking forward to it.
That's a good point. On the outside linebackers, Jimmy Charlo, a captain, and Trey Sophia.
Mm-hmm.
Both get a lot of accolades. And also at the inside linebacker, Leo Lowen, who I believe led the team in tackles last year. Seemed like he had 12 or 14 tackles every game when he was healthy last year.
Yeah, Lowen and Charlo were another 2 guys like Fry, who, if they can start this season at the same level they were playing when the season ended last year, it's going to be real good for the defense. And
then at cornerback, you've got Jabari Moore, who's in his 5th year. He's got over 40 games already.
Crazy, huh? Still playing.
Yeah, we're kidding him about, could he set the record for most games played in by an Army football player?
I'm serious. When I saw his name, I thought, very first thing I thought when I saw Jabari was, I was like, I thought he graduated. No, he's still on the team. He's still playing. I'm not complaining. You know, he's the same guy who deflected that Air Force pass in overtime a couple of seasons ago to end the game for Army in overtime against the Falcons. So, you know, I'm glad. That's a lot of experience right there. That's a lot of leadership right there. And that's really important for the defensive backfield to be able to key on the intensity and the understanding of the defense, and the leadership that's being provided on the field in you know, in coverages and in every play that Jabari Moore brings to the table.
And then at the other cornerback, you've got a lot of experience. Cam Jones is listed as a starter, but you got Bo Nicholas Paul, who's been receiving a lot of accolades. So you've got a couple of very good cornerbacks there, and especially playing on a warm opening night, you're going to see him going in and out. Yeah,
you know, it's last year I talked about the Coastal Carolina game last year. So in addition to, you know, meeting Shane Buckingham's dad and Jamel Jones's dad, I was down in the lobby the day before the game, and I ran into Tyrell Robinson, Bo Nicholas Paul, and Aaron Bibbins, and talked to them for a while and got pictures with them. And I was happy to see that both Bo Nicholas Paul and Aaron Bibbins are on the depth chart for the defensive backfield, which means they're definitely going to see a lot of playing time. And I guarantee you those two young men are chomping at the bit to get out on the field and atone for the way the defense started last season. So, you know, it's almost like you got a second chance, and here you go. And this is your opportunity. And I'm sure they're ready. So they were so excited to get the season going last year. And that Coastal Carolina game was really tough on the defense. It was a rough way to start. I guarantee you they're not wanting to start a season like they did last year at Coastal Carolina.
And then at the safeties, you've got Quinn Hammond and Max Domenico. And the coaches seem to have a lot of confidence that they can stop the long pass. And then also, as you mentioned, you got Aaron Bibbins and Casey Larkin backing up those two safeties. So that's key. I mean, everyone's talking how hard it is to replace Markel Broughton on the defense, not to mention Andre Carter, but Markel Broughton calling the signals. But now it means players have to step up, and I think that's one of the areas to watch, is see how Quinn Hammonds and Max Domenico handle that safety position.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll just mention to the side that I saw that Andre Carter made the 53-man roster for the Vikings. So congratulations to Andre Carter.
Oh, wow, that's great. I wanted to look that up, and not just to mention, you know, you thought he might have been kept as a practice player, because I looked at the Vikings depth chart and they had a number of linebackers. So for Andre to make the team, make the 53-man roster is a great compliment to him.
Absolutely.
How much we enjoyed covering him, what an outstanding young man he is, and that's great news to hear. Hey, just on kickers, Coach Monken said that Cooper Allen was ahead of Billy Bulkey as likely punter. They both will make the trip. And they have Cole Talley or Quinn Morensky. I can't imagine Quinn Morensky is not going to do the field goals. He had a beautiful 40-yarder in one of the practice games, and he just drilled it. You know, it looked like a perfectly hit 7-iron.
Yeah, I would think that
field goal.
I would think that Moretsky, it's the place kicking is Moretsky's, you know, job to lose, and Talley will probably handle the kickoffs like last year. Yeah,
quite likely. And then a player we talked to, Cole McCutcheon, is going to do the long snapping, and we did an interview. He's a senior. He's been waiting his 3 years as a backup long snapper, and now he's going to get his chance. And you can expect that Miles Stewart and Cam Jones will be the kickoff returners for Army, and we'll see if they get a chance to run the ball back on kickoffs. So that's pretty much a run through the 2-deep chart that was announced by West Point Monday. And our best wishes, everyone has made it that far. Now, Richard, let's give Richard a chance before we wrap up. What are your 5 games that you are going to keep a special eye on this weekend?
The 5 games I'm going to keep keep a special eye on, besides of course the Army game. Let's see. Okay, September 2nd. I'm gonna keep an eye on how number 2 Michigan and East Carolina, after all the all that's going on with Michigan and Jim Harbaugh. I want to see how they will respond in that game when they take on East Carolina at 12 noon. Let's see. Number 3 Ohio State taking on Indiana. That will be a 3:30 game on CBS. I want to see how Ohio State will be doing it in their first game of the season. And also, just a side note, part of the new TV contracts, because it's no longer SEC on CBS, because they've switched it around. I think they're switching it to the Big Ten on CBS. So I'll be interested to see how that will work out. Also, I'm looking at the schedule. I'm seeing how, let's see, what other games? Oh yeah, what other games? Let's see, number 12 Tennessee and Virginia. That will be a 12 noon game. The Volunteers ranked number 12, and a team that I believe was recently sanctioned for NCAA penalties a couple months back. I want to see how they will respond against Virginia. And of course, you cannot mention a couple of these games with also even mentioning the Georgia Bulldogs when they take on UT Martin. I should say the defending national champion Georgia Bulldogs, going for that 3rd consecutive national championship. They will be taking on UT Martin on Saturday. So that's going to be a couple of the games I will be, of course, keeping up an eye on. And of course, keeping a pulse on also every other game in college football.
Okay.
Because now I've got this huge platform where I can watch like any game, and like,
there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I don't want the evening to conclude without giving Colonel Sam Houston a chance to relate about the Air Force Academy and their team. And it's been noted, a lot of the previews are talking about Air Force is going to, has graduated Brad Roberts, their outstanding running back, and their quarterback is Zeke Daniels, and have a little bit of rebuilding to do. They're also rebuilding their stadium, so they're playing a bunch of games on the road, including the Army game they're going to play up in Denver, up the Broncos Stadium. Any thoughts so far on the Air Force Falcons?
No, not really. I mean, it's Air Force is Air Force. I'm sure that they probably found some loophole to keep some player an extra year so that, he could play another year next year too. And, what do I expect from Air Force Academy? Pretty much the same thing that you expect every year from Air Force Academy. They're going to run triple option. I doubt we're going to see very many wrinkles in how they approach the way they play. Troy Calhoun, even Steve Shalhoub and I have both kind of reluctantly agreed that of the 3 academies, Air Force always seems to run the best and most. They demonstrate the most finesse at the process of actually running triple option football. And they always seem to be able to find a way to find a player to fill the void. So Brad Roberts is gone. I'll have to go back and watch, who Brad Roberts' backups were in the past couple of seasons and what year group they were to see if that player is ready to step into the void. But I'm sure that when it's time to play Air Force Academy in Denver, and I'll be there, that Air Force is going to put up a tough game, and we'll know a lot more about their season and their team and their attitude towards playing the game of football by the time we meet up in Denver. So I don't think they have a game this weekend. I'm not sure. Maybe they do. I'd have to go back and look. But I'm sure that they'll probably start out strong, and they'll be in the hunt like they always are in their conference. So can't really find anything critical to say about Air Force Academy right now. Too early.
Give you time.
Season hasn't even started, but give us some time, and I'm sure there'll be some controversies for bulletin board material to throw out there.
Okay. I think there's a section in the Air Force locker room just for Sam Houston.
I hope so.
Okay.
And
Let's. Richard, did you find out about Air Force? They have a game.
Robert Morris, that will be 11 a.m.
Oh my God, that'll be tough.
11 a.m. at Falcon Stadium.
I don't know how they managed to secure them on their schedule. That's a powerhouse right there.
Well, it's Robert Morris from Pittsburgh. Has had some years.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's go. Let's do our first round of predictions. Richard, what do you think of Army and Louisiana Monroe? What's your
Army and
predictions?
Louisiana Monroe. Army's got to start off well. I'm gonna go 31-27, close game. Army gets a late touchdown. Army's gonna win.
Okay. You think it's going to be close and Army's going to pull it out? And Sam, what are you thinking?
Yeah, this is it's always tough to predict the first game of the season, especially when you're going to play an FBS team. Because as I was pointing out earlier, your ULM, we're not playing the same ULM that we played last year. They're not the same team that they were last year. Neither are they the same team they were 2 seasons before. Sure, they've lost some people in the transfer portal. They've gained some people. We'll find out who ULM is come Saturday, but you know what? We're also going to find out who Army is come Saturday, and whether or not this off-season changes are paying off. I have confidence in Monken, but I'm going to be careful in my prediction and not try to get outlandish with the score, because I like to give ULM the benefit of the doubt of being a better team than they were last year. So with that being said, I'm kind of more in line with what Richard said. I'm going to say Army 35, ULM we'll say 24. So 35-24.
Okay, so you think 11-point margin. From what I've seen of Army's offense, I think it looks pretty good. As long as Bryson Daly is in there, stays healthy. You got the big offensive line. You've got the big fullbacks. You've got the talented playmakers in Isaiah Alston and Ajan Marshall. And I think Bryson Daly is ready to run the new offense. So I think they're going to put a fair number of points on the board. I'll say I'll go for 36. I think the defense under Nate Woody is going to be better this year. You got Austin Hill. You mentioned Chris Fry, and the nose tackles that they have, the linebackers. Big hole not having on Andre Carter. But you got some good young players, and you've got the safeties who seem to be growing. Quinn Hammond, and we talked about Jabari Moore at cornerback, a lot of experience there. So I think Army's going to keep it down to 17. I'm going to go for a 19-point margin in the game. So I think Army's going to get off to a fast start in the hot climate and get a lot of their players in. And key is keep Bryson Daly healthy. And I think that's going to be a key all year. So it's going to be interesting. Sam, I'm glad you're going to be there. I hope you'll take some photos for us so we can put up
Sure.
on our Facebook page during the game and can capture the alma mater for us. And
Yes.
we will, I think this may be the only game I don't get to this year. I'm trying to get to, I think I've got a plan for every game after this.
All right, cool.
And so we'll get together. So Richard, any final thought on the first full weekend of college football?
Well, a long go to the national championship starts here. Couple of key games. Army's game. It will be a very important game if they want to get off to a good season. So this one's going to be important. Go Army.
I agree. Sam, a final thought for the evening?
Just go Army, beat the Warhawks.
Yeah, and hope everybody in the region can get out to the game at Louisiana Monroe. It's 7 o'clock Eastern time start. I think it's on the NFL Network.
It is.
Yes.
So we can all watch that, and Sam will be there and send us some reports from the stadium, and we'll get back to this next week. But it's so good to have the season starting up, and have a very interesting Army football team to watch. I think hopefully they get off to a good start, and then they're going to play some big time teams: Syracuse, Boston College, Louisiana State. Not to mention teams like Troy and Coastal Carolina to get another shot at them at home this year. So let's say thank you to Richard Miller, our producer director from West Palm. Thank you, Richard, for joining us.
Thank you,
And Colonel Sam Houston from the class of '87. Great to see you. Got you warmed up, primed for the season.
Thank you, Ken.
And glad, Sam, you will be down at the game covering for us and enjoying the opening night of Army football season.
Sure enough. Looking forward to it.
And this is Ken Kraetzer for Cam Vets Media. And I got to think we have a new sponsor, a little team from the Bronx called the New York Yankees. They are one of our sponsors officially this year. We appreciate their endorsement. They love West Point. The cadets come down and do the large flag presentations on big day. They have Mary Kay Messenger and some of the other vocalists sing the national anthem on big days at Yankee Stadium. But we appreciate that the Yankees have endorsed us with a sponsorship, and that's going to help us travel and do a little bit more. So we thank everybody from the 27-time world champions, the New York Yankees, for being a sponsor. If you're interested in being a partner with us, just please get in touch with us. You can go reach me on Facebook very easily. So again, thank you to Richard and Sam, and best of luck to Army on Saturday night as they open the season at Louisiana Monroe. Thanks everybody for watching.
No.
A second. Second.
Zoom. Here.
We done?
Second.